So this is my iteration of the Double Barrel Minnow Popper, and it's a super simple fly with very few ingredients. I love it for catching bass. First thing you're going to do, take a size 2 hook or larger. These double barrel foam popper heads are super big and can support a much larger and longer hook than a number 2, but I'm using a number 2. Then you're going to get one big Marabou feather. You can actually get more if you want it to be super clunky and heavy in the water. I'm just doing one because I'm tying a bunch of these. So you're going to tie it in near the back of the hook. You want it to be about the length of the shank of the hook, if that makes sense. So I measure it up against the eye to where I hold my fingers, I pinch them to where I want it to go back to, and measure it back to the shank, and that's where I tie in. Then you're going to get this Flashabou. You can use Crystal Flash, Flashabou. You could use EP fibers. Anything sparkly is going to just really make this be extra fishy. So I'm going to cut one strand of the Flashabou in half, and then I'm going to tie in the middle part of the 2 strands that it creates, and then wrap them around the sides of the Marabou so that it can be, somewhat evenly distributed. If it's not perfect, it's not the end of the world. You just need a little bit of flash. Realistically, most of the time when I'm using this fly, it's kind of dark outside, but if you're using it in the middle of the day, then the flash does make a difference, in my opinion. You're going to take one of the popper heads, the double barrel, I really struggle with the word barrel sometimes, double barrel popper head, and use your bodkin to poke a hole through the middle. You'll notice that if you have a bigger hook with a large eye, it's not going to go easily through the eye of the hook. And so what I do is I use scissors to widen that hook, even though it makes the hole a little bit too big. But I really like for that head to go on really smoothly, because the leftover material on there is going to make it harder for it to glue in, and we'll talk more about that later. Next thing you're going to do is this stuff is called mirror wrap, and it's perfect for tying the body of a minnow or a little critter that's really sparkly. What I'm doing with the red pin here, or the red Sharpie, is marking where I think the mirror wrap should end. And what I like to do is mark it just to the inside of that popper head so that it just seamlessly goes in. Also, I think it's cool that the red shows through it because it's translucent. That way it's got like a little bit of a blood spot right behind the popper. You're going to wrap it all the way up to just above where the red spot is, and then tie it in. And then once you've got that tied in, you're going to pull the thread up and back down to secure everything. I like to make sure it's not too fluffy. And then you're going to test to make sure that the popper is going to go in. What I'm doing on the other side that you can't see because of the direction in which I filmed this is that I wanted to make sure the eye is making it outside of the lip of the popper, so that when you attach this popper with glue, you'll actually be able to tie your fly line in. And then I put too much glue here. You can see how I put a little too much. But if you rotate it around before it sets, it'll get evened up, and you can clean it off with like a piece of paper. But once you set it, this right here would fish. That's it. That's all you need to do. If you don't have eyes, no big deal. But go ahead and take these are white 3D eyes that I got off Amazon. Do not buy these from fly shops. Not a good value proposition. If you can go on the internet and go to Amazon or Alibaba,